Hello and welcome to Cutting to the Bull in the Post-Truth Apocalypse. I'm Ben. As always, I'm hanging out with Mike.
Hello.
Claire.
Hey.
And Pete.
And repeat.
Good Geordie.
I've gone for an accent. It's technically a different language.
Yeah, actually.
So-
to be fair,
Right.
I do agree with that. I can never understand anyone from Newcastle.
Should I do the whole show with
No,
Geordie accent?
let's not do that. This week we're going to carry on Life on Mars. As David Bowie asked, is there life on Mars? I say yes, or there was.
It's got to have been, isn't there?
Ah, way ain't late. There could have been, you know it.
Shut the
You
fuck
never
up,
knew.
Anti-Tech. The jury's out, we'll go through some evidence,
Yep.
we'll have a look. Before we get to the meat and bones of it, let's thank some new and returning listeners very quickly. Valdosta in Georgia in the US, Bucharest in Romania, Belgrade in Serbia. Is it Belgrade or Belgradia?
I think it's Belgrade.
No. Johannesburg in South Africa, Belfast in the UK, Utrecht in the Netherlands, Brussels in Belgium, Frankfurt am Main in Germany, Anaheim in California, Porterville, Missouri, Bangalore, India, Stevenage in the UK, Ashburn, Virginia, Guadalajara, Spain, and Lowestoft in the UK heads it off. I don't know where Lowestoft?
Lower stuff,
Lower
yeah.
stuff.
Do you know where that is?
It's near Norwich, I think, isn't it?
It's in England. You know, in between.
Yeah, I'm aware of what
No,
geographically on this island.
It's right in between, like Scotland and the island.
And France.
The Isle of Wight. The Isle of Wight and Scotland. It's
Well,
somewhere in that big gap.
Eastern
figure it out.
England.
I'll figure it out. Either way, thank you very much for listening. You can follow us on Facebook at Cutting to the Bull in the Post-Truth Apocalypse. Follow us on SoundCloud and most other podcasting platforms as Cutting to the Bull in the PTA. And you can listen to us on YouTube at Apocalypse Bull. Like, subscribe, send us a message, reach out and touch us.
He likes that.
Who doesn't love being reached out
Mike,
and
stop
touched?
touching him.
Yeah, Mike. And you, Pete.
To Mars!
I know whose foot that is.
That's why I told him to stop.
Anyway, to Mars. Now, lots of things have been seen on Mars by various probes that have been sent out, and I think, personally, NASA are hiding something.
You would.
Up your
You know,
bum.
I'm a slut for... No, on Mars, Pete. Stop
Oh,
thinking
right.
of my ass for a second.
Sorry.
Just for a second. Stop
NASA
thinking
hiding
about it.
something up your ass. It could be
You just like
possible.
thinking of my ass, admit it. Right, for a start, photos on Mars, right? Everyone
Yeah,
thinks...
I went up with my Kodak last week. I took some good pictures.
Did your eyes bulge out like Arnie's?
Only a little bit.
Ah!
I managed to hold them in. I was all right.
Apparently that wouldn't happen. If you actually empty your lungs and you're in a vacuum, you'll survive a little bit longer.
Oh, that's all right then.
Yeah.
You got at least 4 seconds.
Yeah. Now, there's been some stuff found, let's face it, from various probes, and NASA's always written it off as, oh, it's tricks of the light, it's shadows, pareidolia, big one. And pareidolia, you know I'm always quick enough to jump to pareidolia in terms of ghost sightings and things like that.
Yeah.
What's pareidolia? Is that like almost paranoia but with visual?
It's a good question, Pete. Pareidolia?
It's when you see faces
Okay.
in shapes and
Got you.
movements,
Yeah.
clouds.
Like when I was saying when you look at the clouds and you see,
Yeah.
okay. People
And you-
see them in tree trunks and shit.
But the
yeah.
human
Yeah, 'cause-
brain is also really good at picking out faces.
Yeah, I can see one.
I can
There's
Fucking-
3 of them in this room.
Your brain, well, technically there's 4, but your brain works at
I can't see my own.
We'll go in the mirror.
We needed to do it, didn't we? Evolutionary.
Yeah.
Because, like, you...
It helps you recognise threats and things
Exactly.
like that.
Straight from a different tribe, if he's hiding in the trees.
That's
Pick
not
out a
one of my
face.
guys.
Isn't this also why there's certain animals that almost adopt like a human face on them because it made them less
Them
of a-
human-faced chameleons.
No, there's like beetles and shit like that that look like they've got a human face.
I think that's just coincidence.
Yeah, but is that because we see that
Possibly.
as that, or are they doing that?
Are you on about
because
the,
they're scared of us and they want to make make themselves more friendly to
You're
us.
on about the relic, aren't you?
You're on
Mr.
about
Footy Shoes.
No, he's on about the Death's Head moth, aren't you?
There is that.
Silence of the Lambs, you know, the moth.
Yeah.
It's got the skull face on it.
There is that.
It evolved to look that way, but yeah, we see the skull in it, yeah.
But there's a few beetles that do it as well. There's even monkeys that are very, very people-like features and things like that. But yeah,
Oh, monkeys are kind of us, aren't they,
on
son?
their butts.
Some people have a face like an ass. Let's jump to the face on Mars. Right, that's the biggie, isn't it? The big face on Mars. Listener, go and look at the face on Mars.
I've never seen a face on Mars. Man on the moon.
There's been a film about it, hasn't there, as well?
Has there?
About the face on Mars, yeah. I can't remember what it's called now. It was shit.
Oh, right. I remember Capricorn 1 with Val Kilmer in it. It was the faked Mars landing.
I remember Ghosts on Mars.
Ghosts of Mars. You know what? I wonder if that holds up nowadays.
I remember the movie.
I doubt it.
You know what? Little Sergeant. I loved Ghosts of Mars. I saw it at the cinema. And I think it was the first DVD I bought. DVDs had just come out. It cost me $18.99, right? I bought that, one of my first wage packets. I watched it and thought,
Oh my
God,
God.
this is shit. And this didn't hold up at all.
It's not one of his best, is it?
John Carpenter,
Yeah.
no, certainly not. A young Jason Statham in it, though.
He had hair in that one, didn't he?
No, he was bald.
Oh, he's still bald.
He's been bald since birth. He's never had hair. The most commonly known and probably the most distinct of the unexplained features can be seen in images of the face on Mars in its Cydonia region.
Are we going to see images of this?
We are.
Good, because I want to see it.
This face was originally found by two NASA contractors called Vincent DiPietro and Gregory Molinar. The two found images of the face taken by NASA's Viking satellites, which became a source of study and debate that continues today. Basically, everyone was... The Viking probe took like 100 and something photos. And everyone went, yeah, but look at that face. NASA has to address that. And they were like, oh yeah, well, when we flew over it again, we took a second picture of it, and it just looked like a band of rubble. It was nothing. It was just a natural formation. But they never produced that second photo. Everyone just took them at their word.
That's pretty much how they do all business, doing it.
Never a straight answer.
People just pretty much take them at their word.
And didn't they send another probe with another camera and it was worse?
It was a worse photo.
It was worse resolution camera.
It was they were going to send, even though better cameras were available, they were going to use the same camera as before on the next probe. And everyone was like, why wouldn't you do it? Oh God, what's his name? Richard C. Hoagland, famous UFO guy.
They wouldn't go back and photograph it, would they?
Go back and photograph. Richard C. Hoagland went on Coast to Coast FM. I love Coast to Coast FM. It's fantastic.
AM, isn't it?
AM, sorry. Bunch of rednecks drinking up, telling everyone it's in Bigfoot. Superb.
Sounds a little bit like the American version of us.
They were long before us. Long before
They're the
us.
forerunners.
Yeah,
the English
absolutely.
versions of them then.
Yes, pretty much. And Richard C. Hoagland went on Coast to Coast and said, like, hey, if you've got, there's nothing up there, let them show us. And he got this huge letter writing campaign. And this was really well timed, the fact that NASA was sending another probe to Mars. And they still like, come on, take pictures of it. Why won't you take pictures of it? NASA then sent a scientist on to debate Hoagland, and the scientist lost really, really badly. And even the host to Coast, he's like, just prove these guys wrong and take the pictures. Just prove them wrong.
Well, they've got the coordinates, haven't
Yeah, just go and take the pictures, prove these guys wrong. 5 minutes after that debate ended, NASA announced it had lost contact with said Mars probe.
they?
Always losing things, NASA. It's interesting. Lost the original moon landing tapes.
Let's have a look at the face then.
With the alien meetings.
Possibly. The face appears to be wearing a helmet or headdress, and further analysis seems to show teeth as well as the presence of eyes in the sockets. The face is quite large, stretching almost 2 miles in length and just over 1 mile in width. And despite skeptics' views that our ability to see his face is simply a play of shadows, multiple images and lighting angles have shown that the face is symmetrical. There we have, there's a picture of it.
Fantastic.
Wow.
Amazing resolution. Where's the helmet? Where's the hair?
Around here, sort of down the sides.
Okay, yeah, I can kind of see that. Okay, that very well could just be a little mountain range of form.
What you've got, the problem is, what you've got is over here, which isn't shown, you've got some pyramids.
Ooh, in the shadowy bit.
Over here, sort of to the side of it.
Right.
This is part of a complex. That's just the face. So what makes the face at Sidonia and its location so intriguing is that there are also several pyramids there. One can see these pyramidal shapes which appear to be grouped together and almost too distinct to be naturally occurring. Some believe that the layout of the pyramids, as well as other features such as a spiraled mound and buttress walls, point to the organised layout of a city. In addition, one feature known as the D&M pyramid, named after the two NASA guys who researched this, photo analysis
Dave
guys,
and Mike.
is distinctly five-sided and much larger than any pyramid on Earth.
It's not a pyramid then, is it? If it's five-sided, you.
Might have collapsed in himself.
It's still not a pyramid if it's five-sided. It's a
Pentamid.
That's what I'm trying to work out what you'd call it.
Pentamid. Either way, this is the view of the Sidonia region, listener. You can go and find this online. We've got the face on Mars, got some clearly pyramids down here, pyramid there.
That's a proper fucking straight line, isn't it? On that one below the crater. So you got
Yeah.
That's an extremely straight line from here anyway. That's how it does look extremely straight, which is very unnatural, isn't it? There's also some other small-looking pyramids off to the left. You can almost see, that one. You can almost see it looks like a piece of Toblerone sat right on the floor, and then the image of the face in that is much better, much
I think they
clearer.
look like rocks.
Yeah,
Big fucking rocks.
could be, couldn't they?
100%.
Could
It
well
could be. And we can't prove it wrong.
No.
But the question I want to ask you is if there were ancient monuments on Mars built by a long-dead civilization, or potentially our forerunners, would NASA tell us?
The only thing I would say on this is you'd expect to see some form of road formation.
Somewhat.
Road formation.
And that could have been covered
Millions
over
of
the
years, mate.
sands.
Yeah. Dust storms.
Millions of years.
You got a lot of
but
dust
you'd
storms on
probably-
Mars, and it, you know,
But there is a potential that you could
and there's
still
a few
see-
craters there as well.
Remember, you got the canales on Mars as well. What they thought were canals originally when they first
That was
saw
a
them.
mistranslation.
It was, yeah. Canales, yeah.
Doesn't mean canals in English, it means channels.
That's right.
Of course, everyone translates canali, it's canals. Oh my god, there's canals on Mars as life. Before we went there, they thought it was lush, didn't they?
Yeah, also remember when they found those quote canals on Mars, the canal was the motorway of its day. On Earth, there wasn't cars at that point when they found that out.
Certainly in Venice.
Well, Venice, they love a canal in Venice.
Very much.
Apparently, it stinks of shit. That's what my stepsister said. Anyway, it stinks of poo everywhere. So all the sewage just goes into canals.
It's not surprising, really, is it? It's Italy, let's face it.
It's a bit of a. Is that a racist slur, Pete?
No. Like,
You can't drink the water and shit. It just tells you everything, doesn't it? They don't have the best irrigation sewage systems,
Clear it
etc.,
up.
etc.
But going back to this, if you're NASA, okay, people have seen this picture that looks like a face.
Let's get in on it.
Yeah, why don't you send your rover there to the possible
Yeah,
pyramids?
because they were actually going to land at Sidonia when they did the rover. And they said, no, we
Doesn't
won't
look
go there.
interesting enough.
We'll go further over. To a point where the NASA engineers said landing in that terrain, it was like, they're surprised it came down in one piece kind of thing.
Well, look at that lovely, lovely, lovely flat. So if that's like, what,
You come
3
down
mile?
to the top left of that picture.
If that's like a 3 mile square, essentially, yeah,
Something like that.
3 miles squared roughly. Look at that. I don't know, 20 square mile of flat, nice plains.
So why won't they send
Do
nothing there?
Exactly. There's no excuse. There's plenty of landing space there. Surely.
When you look at that five-sided pyramid there, it does look a
Yeah.
lot better.
You could see the potential of it. It's just straight lines, isn't it?
It is.
It's very, very flat, triangular looking wall, essentially. That's what it looks
Yeah.
like, isn't it? But a mile size, like a mile
That's
long
it.
and a mile wide.
Claire, what are you seeing? Because you're looking at
I'm seeing rocks.
Really,
Yeah.
you're just looking at the rocks and
You
Yeah.
need to drink more alcohol.
just rocks. You don't see the face. You don't see the
I've
pyramids.
seen the face, but on that sort of zoomed in picture
You
there,
don't, no.
you don't, do you?
You
It
don't.
just looks like a lump, and it could be. You're thinking it's going to be. It's a shadow, isn't it?
Yeah, but think if it stood there for millions of years, it'd be
The
weathered.
erosion.
Yeah. Well, eroded by the wind and the dust, yeah.
You look at the Sphinx with a few thousand years of erosion.
Different erosion on Earth, though, to Mars, but yeah.
Yeah.
The Sphinx has got watermarks around its base, hasn't it?
They think it's a lot older than the pyramids.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. Well, it is older than the
It's been
pyramids.
refashioned, hasn't it? They think that it was a lion's head, and it obviously got refashioned into a pharaoh head.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course the nose is missing. So yes,
So from
right.
one face to another.
One face, the crowned face, also referred to as the king's face, is 11 miles wide and located in the Libra Montes region of Mars.
That's a big one.
The image, thank you. The image shows the face with much greater detail than the face of Sidonia, with distinct features and what appears to be a crown. Some have interpreted the right half of the visage to the profile of a female face looking to the left, while others see layered faces. Since the face is not shadowed to the extent of the Sidonia face, it's hard to dismiss as pareidolia.
Well, that does look like a female.
I go
face.
female.
You can see that.
Claire?
Can you?
I see
I don't know
it.
if you can.
Or instantly.
What? The,
You got the
The
nose,
mouth,
the
the
mouth.
yeah, I can see the
eyes,
face, but I
yeah.
can't tell its gender.
The crown.
He's like a softer, it
No,
looks like a
it's,
softer
it's,
cheek.
it's the features, it's the nose and things like that, and the jawline. That's more of a feminine feature than a man.
But then again, if
check
you
this out, crowned face of
yeah,
Mars.
because then again, if you look out, don't you? Sometimes you can see. Oh, actually, it's just the way the mountains are sort of cropped.
I would say 999.9 million% out of. Well, yeah. That's pareidolia.
Yeah.
More
That
than
could be,
anything.
you're right. If all, I think with the
But
face,
it could
the
be
first,
with the face.
the Sidonia face, it jumps out at you, doesn't it?
It's
this
standing
one-
out on its own, isn't it?
You've got that sort of, oh yeah, I see that. And if you take that second, is it a genuine face or is it pareidolia?
And that beauty spot looks like Marilyn Monroe.
Do you
think
think they engineered a meteorite just to land at that point?
I do think that one is like 99.9% pareidolia.
Yeah.
That's almost
But
certainly.
Let's face it, if, let's say there was a civilization on Mars, let's just spitball, we know as humans, we love building a monument to somebody, don't we? We love putting a face on something.
Not 11 miles wide though.
Yeah, but you look at. You only have to think of the white horse.
Yeah,
As you
and
go
that
down
giant,
towards
and that
heaven.
giant with the cock on the hillside.
Yes,
That's not.
yes.
That's only about. Well, it's not even
It's
a
a
mile
couple
wide.
of. It's a couple hundred meters.
Nazca
But
lines, Claire, the Nazca lines, they go on for hundreds of miles.
True.
the Great Wall of China, for fuck's sake.
I mean,
Alright, now we go
Images-
to dreams.
yeah, but I'm just saying, it's we love a giant monument, and who's to say that, you know, maybe we are from Mars.
Maybe the Battlestar Galactica,
Maybe Battlestar Galactica is actually
how it kind of happened.
how it happened.
Do you know, I have thought, like, I kind of like that method, that way that explains human life. I kind of like that. No, I don't believe it, obviously. 'Cause that's more. It does sound almost Scientology, but
It does a little bit, doesn't
oh
it?
yeah, I do think there's a.
Very quick tangent. Did you see that the woman, I can't remember her name now, Nancy Cartwright, who voices Bart Simpson,
Yeah.
has been given a special award by Scientology for donating over $21 million.
No way, I didn't realise she was a
Yeah.
Scientologist. Oh, what?
$21 million? That's about like a season's worth of pay.
I was going to say
Yeah.
that's probably only a year's pay. To
Probably a
her.
year's pay for her, yeah, but over the years done 21 million.
Wow.
Incredible.
Do you think she's hit the highest of the highest paying that much?
I know, I think
Level
Tom
9
Cruise
or
has probably
whatever.
paid more. I've heard Tom Cruise has paid about 50 million.
He's probably.
But that's rumour, obviously. I'm not.
He's the golden boy, isn't he?
Well, of course, he's the poster boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at him. Look at Tom Cruise. Top Gun 2.
Scientology.
Freedom of Valor, wasn't it, or something? Was it? He got the award that he got.
Do you know what? I don't think it's entirely under his own fucking will, though. My own personal belief.
Do you think he's been brainwashed?
No.
Well, he's obviously been brainwashed.
No,
No, like, do you think they took him away one weekend with a hood over his head and a bright light in his face?
They got shit on him. They've got shit on him. Because what do you have to do? You have to sit there and tell your most fucking inner, deepest, darkest secrets to them. And they fucking record it all. He wants to leave
Are you thinking that there's rumours of Tom Cruise's sexuality that have dogged him throughout his career?
It could be anything like that. It could be worse. It could be nothing. You don't know, do you? But from what you know, from what I
went
know
to a
of
satanic death orgy.
from what I know of Scientology, they use shit like that to keep you in because they don't want these high profile people.
Oh, of course,
also.
Because you bring your money in, don't you?
Yeah.
They're all about the cash.
I do think that face is a bit poop, though. It does look kind of
I can see
face-like,
it.
but
I can see it. We've got another face as well, a Sumerian face. Imagery from NASA appears to show a rock face that bears a striking resemblance to statues of ancient Sumerian gods.
I'd much rather like a nice zoomed in
So,
picture.
Gozer Sumerian, is it? God from Ghostbusters?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gozer the Gazarian. The picture compares the rock face to a statue of Nabu, the Sumerian god of literacy and wisdom. Could this be evidence the Anunnaki once visited an ancient civilization on the Red Planet? I can kind of see it, but it looks more like a rock.
Yeah, it's still a rock for me.
Sumerian shape-shifting god of destruction was Gozer.
There you go. Was that Tobin's Spirit Guide?
So have they gone... Has NASA gone back to any of these places at all?
Of course they have.
Yeah, they photoshopped it all. 14 filters applied to Mars photos. 14. Modern
Make
photo.
it look like the red planet.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah, like it shows, for example, it shows like Mars has a red sky. Mars doesn't have a red sky. Mars has a dark blue sky. But they photoshopped this orange effect.
Not in
Onto
all.
all of it.
Not in all photos.
No, they stopped doing it now.
Yeah.
When they first,
Because
everyone,
tagged on like to it.
because people ran it through Photoshop, and Photoshop now has a colour restorer
Right.
If,
So you remove the filters.
to remove the
that have been
filters. 14 filters on, and some of it looks a lot like a place in Canada where the NASA
added.
tests
This is what I was saying
their
last
Mars
week.
stuff.
It's what we were
Yeah.
saying last week, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I saw something not long ago, and it did show this. It was absolutely. This guy had sat in the exact fucking spot that clearly this NASA picture, apparently, allegedly,
Is
has
Mars.
is Mars. So, if that was genuine, Mars were full of shit. If this guy has found the exact spot in Canada and take a picture, because every fucking rock was the same. It was, I've
Also, as well, there's some images of like little creatures hiding behind rocks, and they could be like long-tailed lemurs that live in that particular area of Canada. NASA are also a bit funny on that.
I quite like that face, mind. The eye and the nose and the cheeks, very prominent, aren't they, on this one?
Yeah, the rock face buried in the sand. A particular face found in an outcropping of rocks also bears some semblance of depiction of Sumerian gods. The rock face is found half buried in the sand and looks to be distinctly carved. Again, listener, go and check that. That looks distinctly carved, but
It's the fact that on this one piece of rock, and you look at all the other rocks around it, they're the same rock, yeah?
it's all been exposed. It's all been exposed to the same amount of erosion, hasn't
Clearly.
it? The same forces of.
But if you look at all the other rocks around it, they're just rocks. And there's this one particular rock that's a lot bigger than the rest, but there are there's a clear angled fucking chiseled nose, the rounded shape of the jaw, the cheek and the jawline, the
Giant
eyes.
forehead.
Remember,
Potentially,
if it's
yeah.
on its side, you've got to turn your head on its side.
But you don't know what could have been above it, below it, around it. It could have been
You can see
part
a
of-
mouth at the bottom as well.
Yeah, yeah. You can
It
see
looks-
like the top of the. Is it the fulcrum? No, what's the
Fulcrum.
Fulcrum. Is it obviously the mandible, the top part of the jaw. in between the nose and the lip.
Yeah, I know this
you can
thing,
see
yeah.
that.
Your moustache line.
Yeah, but you can see that quite clearly. That does, to me, look the clearest yet.
Yeah.
I think as well, that reminds me of, you know, where in Egypt, all them, they've got them statues, they're all sort of sat with their hands on their knees.
Yeah.
And the big heads.
Yeah.
Yeah, very
And they're all in a row.
Irradiated.
And
Yeah.
the temples
Very
behind
much.
them.
Yeah.
Who's to say what's, you know, maybe that's the end one and there's, you know, all them rocks and the remains of the others, who knows?
Well, this is actually in Egypt.
Yeah.
This picture's actually in Egypt, not on Mars at all.
Maybe. I doubt it though, I think, well no, who's to say? You don't know, do you? We only have NASA to go for that, and of course, never a straight answer.
Yeah.
They do lose a lot of stuff, NASA, and misplace a lot of stuff.
It's amazing, really, isn't it?
It's fantastic, isn't it? It's incredible. What about Egyptian-like statues? Images taken by a NASA rover in the Victoria crater purport to show what look like statues embedded in a cliff. These statues bear an uncanny resemblance to Egyptian sarcophagi or statues of the Anunnaki of ancient Sumner, i.e. the Sumerians. That's an interesting one.
I prefer it if they hadn't lightened it though, because it's become unnatural in the natural surroundings. I'd rather see it actually.
Another one
It's
there.
like Queen Victoria.
It does a little bit, doesn't it?
Big fat bosoms.
Are you an enjoyer of Queen Victoria's big fat bosoms?
Voluptuous figure.
That's enough, because like 9 kids, so she should have.
The second photo is not convincing me.
I think it's the first because they've outlined it and shaded it. So you know what I mean.
Unless they haven't.
Nah, you can see they have.
Yeah,
You can see it's sort of popping out of a cave, can't you?
absolutely. If you look what's around it.
If that was the actual colour of the piece, I'd be like, oh yeah, that's pretty fucking cool. But I think that's been highlighted. I think that's the same colour as the rest of it, but that particular bit has been lightened and highlighted.
I understand what you're saying, but you can still see the shape of it.
Looks like a grey.
It looks like it's sticking out of a cliff, doesn't it?
Yeah, but
Well, you look at the mounting of it. I think yeah, that's clearly like a flat edge. That's a pretty straight edge. It's always been placed in there or carved into it.
I do see that. I just wish they'd left it natural for
It
me
looks
to
like
see it.
looks like a grey.
Yeah, it does a bit. But is that because of the way they've enhanced it? That's what I'm
And
getting.
you're right. Once you've enhanced something like that and changed the colour,
Yeah. Takes validity.
well, and conversely, that's what NASA have done, haven't they? They've edited their own pictures.
Yeah.
They do a copy and paste on stuff, especially on clouds. When they take pictures of Earth, they'll copy and paste clouds onto it. It's weird, isn't it? Why do that? Are there less clouds? Are the clouds disappearing? Probably not.
The excuse is to make it look like what we think Earth should look like.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
But why do it?
Yeah, what we think Mars should look like, because it's called
Yeah.
a red planet.
We
Oh my
want
god,
the
does that mean
truth.
that the Earth is flat and they just... oh shit! I've become a flat earther! No, I haven't. No. Fucking idiots. It's an interesting one. All of this is interesting. It's like, what if? It's what if, isn't it? Right, the last one on this list is the Meridiani face, the least distinct of those spotted on Mars. The face on the Meridiani planum is thought to be another source of evidence of possible intelligent creation. 2 eyes that are closed or squinting can be seen with a large nose and protruding cheekbones. The Meridiani plane is located near Mars equator. Now, picture that one.
Sadly.
I don't believe it anyway.
Let's have a look.
If it's the least convincing one out of them, then I don't believe it already, because there was some really unconvincing ones on there. So if it's less convincing than them ones, I ain't convinced. And I've not even seen the image yet. You know what I mean, though?
Looks like Natalie Portman to me.
Just, and you have to put
Even
Mars
with
in
a
that.
skinhead, I'd still do her.
You know what? In V for Vendetta, she was still pretty hot with the skirt.
She's hot with a skinhead, isn't she? Fair play. There's only a few, not many women can pull it off, really.
Demi Moore, that's it.
Yeah. Halle Berry. Because she's always been able to pull off the short hair. If she had a skinhead, I think it'd be fine. I don't see no face. Oh, no, there you go. It looks like a fucking coin. That one in the middle at the top. You can almost see like a coin face, almost. Looks
Really?
like a 700-year-old coin that's been fucked a bit, and yeah, that wasn't convincing whatsoever.
Alright, well let's have a look at the doorway.
Ooh, doorways. This is more like it, isn't it?
Doorway carved on Mars.
What do you think of this?
Yeah, I've seen this before a few times.
Looks carved to me.
It does look carved.
Very
doesn't
straight
it?
lines, aren't they?
There's caves like that all around the world.
Yeah,
That do look like they could have been carved, but they're not. They are just natural.
Where it's
So-
where it's fell away from the rock.
Yeah,
NASA claims it's only 28 centimetres high.
28 centimetres high.
You know, the camera angle and all that, it makes it look bigger than it is.
I definitely call bullshit on that.
Well, it looks like it's going into nothing, doesn't it? You know, it looks like it's just an opening. You know, it's got nowhere to go, is it?
Does it? I don't know. It looks like it might do.
Could be a shelter.
Could turn off to the right, couldn't it?
Well, yeah, think of this. There's a valley there, clearly. There's high walls, carved to a cliff. Maybe that's a place to take shelter from the high winds. It's been carved in.
What, raccoons?
No, people, the inhabitants of Mars. If you're out trekking in that part,
28
you can duck in there and get out the wind, get that red dust floating about.
But just under a foot high.
Who's to say it is a foot high? That's what NASA says.
I know, I'm just going by their facts, obviously. Facts, I say that very loosely.
You mean two quotation marks facts?
Yeah.
The doorway's interesting. I think that's. I don't think they say, oh, that's 28 centimetres high. I think that's bullshit. I mean.
Yeah, I call bullshit on that 100%.
Why didn't they just pull the rover up to it? Because if it was only 20 cent, the rover's going to be loads bigger than it.
Maybe it's in the middle of the cliff. I don't know where it is. Is it on the floor?
That we don't know. It's Curiosity took that one.
Ah, of
It
course,
wasn't that
yeah.
curious, was it?
Didn't want to get killed like the cat, did it?
Professor Gupta of NASA says the crack is a fracture and they're abundant on Mars and Earth, and there's nothing strange in the image. They're just all normal geological processes. But he would say that, wouldn't he?
I do tend to agree with that though, because like I said, there's a lot of very flat kind of cave formations that you do come across naturally.
And if there was water there, it's potentially sedimentary rock, isn't it?
And it's
Which-
just water
which-
around.
Yeah, you can see the
Which
layers,
does,
to be fair.
Yeah,
can't you?
which does fall away in layers and a lot of straight edges, so...
It's just that.
For me, it's
It
one of
looks
the best
smooth in
evidences.
there.
In the actual doorway, where you
Uh-huh.
can see, it looks smooth, it's carved, that edge there.
It does, but again, that could be trick the eye from the image. It might not be smooth at all.
Well, all of this is technically could be pareidolia or something, but we're recognising shapes, aren't we?
Look, it's a bear.
It's a bear, that's a bear. If there's ever the bare face of Mars, people. Right, listener, check this one out. If that's not a bear, I don't know what is.
It definitely isn't, but it just looks like one.
There's my example of pareidolia for you, there's my blatant one. If that's not a bear, I don't know what is.
But yeah, that is 100% pareidolia, isn't it? That's just perfect timing with
Or
a
is
couple
it?
of little craters.
Or is it?
That crazy little valley and mountainy.
Or is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, two craters for eyes, and then that sort of...
What's that circle
In the
there?
perfect, in the perfect position as well, aren't they? The eyes.
Yeah.
How convenient.
Oh, it does look like a teddy bear.
Science officer Mike, you with me? We can't say for definite that is not
Been
deliberately
created-
made.
Can't.
Been created purposely.
We can't, can we?
Well, no, we can't, but I can pretty surely say there's a good chance it is just pareidolia.
No. Alright. Let's move on to the crab.
There's a crab as well.
Crab.
Crab.
Been crab on Mars, listener. D-Star will provide, as always.
Oh, it's definitely true then.
Finest investigative journalism on the planet, Pete. That's what it is.
It does look like a tentacle creature attached to the wall, doesn't it?
It does. It certainly does. You show me how erosion does that. Tell me how erosion does that.
So, what? NASA took this as well.
Yeah.
Well, if that is genuine picture from NASA, then that shows us there is life on Mars.
Or
right
was.
now.
It could be a husk. It could be an empty husk, couldn't it?
Could be the skin of something.
It could be a plant protruding out of that hole in the...
Could be one of them things that killed Boba Fett, or nearly killed
Sarlacc
Boba Fett.
pit.
Sarlacc pit. Could be a sarlacc.
If it's a plant, then there's life on Mars.
Yeah.
That means David Bay was right all along.
Fossilised an anemone.
And if
Anemone.
And if it is fossilised, like you said, then that proves that life was on Mars. But there you go. If that's genuine, if that's genuine, there's 100% proof there and
It's
then
freaky, isn't it?
that
It is.
either is or has been.
I think
life
that and the
on
doorway,
Mars.
are possibly my favourites.
That doorway, not so much for me, but that, yeah.
No, for me it's the phase. It's the original phase of the pyramid complex.
Is a good one, but
Some pyramids. The weird light that the Curiosity rover saw. That's captured on the left camera. It has two eyes, left and right, both cameras, like a little Johnny 5. And it was then picked up on the right camera a second and a half later, but that still places it in the same spot.
you're not about now, you confuse me.
But either way, it was kept on both cameras in two different locations. NASA's put it down to a floating what's the word? A dead pixel. But dead pixels don't move.
No.
And they don't glow. And it's too big, apparently.
Could be ball lightning.
Could be could be ball lightning. Could be a methane spike.
Swamp gas.
Methane.
Mars' equivalent of.
Yeah. A bright blip. It appeared in 2. This article's slightly off. I've heard 2. It appeared on both cameras.
They didn't go towards it, no?
No, it's in the distance. Could be a sun glint or scattered light. Apparently NASA media relations specialist. Tell me that's not just basically a professional liar.
So a sun glint, that means it's like a sun reflection off of something.
Yeah.
So what on the planet of Mars has a shiny enough surface to reflect that other than, say, water or metal of some form?
Or a natural, or an artificial light source.
Ice, maybe, as well.
Yeah. But all of that leads towards...
Well, we know there's ice on Mars.
Is there ice on Mars? Yeah, NASA media relations specialist Andrew Good said, "We've seen this many times at the mission, but obviously didn't release all the pictures."
That's because it's an alien craft following you, daft cunt.
Clearly. Thank you, Mike.
No, I'm not sure about that one. That could be anything, couldn't it?
Well, no. There's not many natural explanations for that. I was being quite sarcastic when I was listing off the explanations. Like, that's...
I'd be driving Curiosity towards it.
Yeah.
You've got a time delay though, remember, on your instructions.
Yeah, it's hours by the time we get the picture, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hours has passed.
You're not just doing it like a remote control car. Go left, and it turns immediately. It's like hours.
I think it might be 30 minutes. I can't remember.
Either way, far too long to follow something potentially like that. But
And I think we have to correct something from last week as well. I think you said it takes 3 months to get to Mars.
Yeah.
I think it's 6 to 7 is the fastest we can get there.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, I do apologise. Always like to be corrected.
There we go. We try and be as
Factual as possible.
try is the opposite.
Let's bring on the facts next.
yeah.
Solar Warden! The most metal name for a secret space fleet that could possibly be. Since approximately 1980, a secret space fleet codenamed Solar Warden has been in operation unknown to the public.
I love how it's like said such like factually, but it's like this is all speculation.
Well,
clearly.
there's a possibility.
I'd like to think there was like.
Have you ever heard of Gary McKinnon?
Yeah, he's the dude in Star Trek, isn't he?
No.
No, who's this guy then?
Gary McKinnon hacked into US Space Command computers several years ago, late 90s, early 2000s, and learned of the existence of non-terrestrial officers and a list of ships and fleet-to-fleet transfers and a secret program called Solar Warden. Non-terrestrial officers.
What does that mean? Yeah.
Is it birds? Dolphin?
Non-terrestrial means non-Earth.
Yeah.
So is that humans in space, or is that aliens
Working with us.
working with us on Earth, a non-terrestrial officer? It's an interesting one, isn't it? But fleet-to-fleet transfers suggests
Spaceships.
He was charged by the Bush Justice Department with having committed the biggest military computer hack of all time. Do you know how he did it? He basically typed in like password into the password box until he got in. It's incredible. And he left notes saying your security is shit.
Their password was password.
Yeah. He would just start password and then someone he got the next password gate password. He just tried his luck until he got in.
But sadly,
Password 123 shit like that.
he wasn't able to save any of it, was he?
No. And you couldn't screenshot things back then.
No.
Shame he didn't have a camera to hand.
Yeah, he stood to face prison time up to 70 years after extradition from the UK. McKinnon in open court would involve his testifying to above classified facts, and his attorney will be able to subpoena government officers to testify under oath about the Navy's space fleet. And he still hasn't been extradited. Theresa May blocked it because Gary's autistic. But yeah, so basically if he goes to court, then his defence lawyers can subpoena US officers to testify under oath. Okay, well tell us what he did see then. What are non-terrestrial officers? What's these fleet-to-fleet transfers? What are these shit names?
Well, they just say he's obviously delusional.
But, well no they can't, they're under oath.
But now they got the... What have they got? They got that act now, haven't they? Where they can extradite you, and then they can put you in like a trial that's behind closed doors. Yeah, they can do that now. I think was it the Patriots Act that allowed that?
I don't know, but do you think they'd be able to keep that one behind closed doors?
Well, yeah.
I mean, the uproar on the internet. I mean, the
They
conspiracy.
give a shit about the uproar of the internet.
It's public opinion.
Not enough. There's not. They'll just say it's bullshit, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
McKinnon also found out about the ships or craft within Solar Warden. It is said there are approximately 8 cigar-shaped motherships, each larger than 2 football fields end to end, and 43 small scout ships. The Solar Warden fleet operates under the US Naval Network and Space Operations Command, or NSOC, formerly Naval Space Command. I'm guessing it's now called Space Force. Yeah?
Yeah.
Isn't it a little odd?
Bit of soft disclosure there. From Netflix. Netflix.
Well, and Trump, it was Trump, wasn't it? He wanted space. He wanted a Space Force. He wanted this. Imagine if Trump, his vanity project was to have a fucking defence fleet.
Did Trump want this, or did the industrial military complex want this? And forced it upon him?
That's a valid point. Yes, the military industrial complex, of course, all powerful. They've been toying with this for a long time, the Space Command thing. It used to come under the Air Force, and then went under the Navy for a bit because obviously they have the missiles, and then went back to the Air Force.
Or maybe it was Solar Warden all along and they changed the name to Space Force and that's legitimised.
That's it, soft disclosure, you see.
Isn't there a programme on Netflix?
There is a programme on Netflix with What's-His-Face and the 40-year-old virgin, Steve Carell.
That's it.
I heard it's a bit shit though.
I've watched it.
I've not.
I have.
I've watched a few. They're quite funny.
It was all right, and then it ended on a massive cliffhanger. And apparently there is a season 2, and I haven't watched it yet. So all of this would be taken from back-engineered UFOs, wouldn't it? Crashed UFOs, or traded to us under the Eisenhower Treaty, the Grenada Treaty. If the Solar Warden, that's where this tech comes from, an exchange. Or back engineering, surely.
It's got to be one or the other, hasn't it? Or unless they are more advanced than they say. And
well, the chap from NASA. I always come back to the chap from... No, sorry, it wasn't from NASA. He was from the Boeing Skunk Works. Literally, the Skunk Works, they are the guys who designed the U-2, the Blackbird, all the stealth bombers, all the top secret aircraft in the US military designed the Boeing Skunk Works. And the guy who ran it came out and said, we know Einstein made a miscalculation in the theory. You can go faster than light. We've corrected it. We know we can. We're on Mars. We're on the moon. And then he died of a fast-acting cancer.
Did he?
Yeah. How convenient, one might say. So,
well, it we need a space force, though, don't we? It just makes sense.
Well, it's like we said in the last episode. We as a human race need to expand.
yeah, absolutely.
Otherwise,
because
we will die out. We fucked ourselves.
No species survives by staying on one planet. You've got to spread out.
Yeah, the Earth will die eventually anyway.
Yeah, and even if there was a species not as destructive as us to its own natural habitat, they'd still die out eventually through overpopulation. So every species needs to get off its home rock. Are we already there? Are we on Mars? Are we on the moon? Are we on several moons in Jupiter, apparently? Have we got a force that sort of patrols the Milky Way? Solar Warden?
Well, wait till you hear the evidence, Claire.
Go on then.
Randy Kramer. Captain Randy Kramer, to give him his full rank. I do apologise, Captain. Captain America in space, effectively. Now, Randy Kramer's life experiences are either incredible or absurd, and he reports that he spent 20 years as a Marine in the US Secret Space Program, or the SSP. His tour of duty took him first to an elaborate, secret, fully equipped base on the moon. Then he went to Mars, where he spent 17 years at a military base. After a major loss of human lives during a battle between the military forces and the native people of Mars, he was deployed back to the moon, where he spent his final 3 years as a military pilot. He tells his story with vivid and captivating detail, and he absolutely does. I have heard this guy speak on several occasions. He recounts this verbatim, like, every time. There's no ers, there's no r's.
The videos are on YouTube, you can watch them.
Yeah, Howard Hughes Explained podcast, I'll give a shout out to you, Howard. He's been on there a couple of times. This guy just recounts this fantastically, and it's mental, even though it is so fanciful. So Randy Kramer, Pete, you heard of Randy Kramer before?
Only briefly, what you told me the other week. Yeah, a bit of a crazy dude, really. From looking in, you think, what the fuck is this guy on about? But I didn't really delve into him very much at the time.
It's just the consistency of his story that's mental. Randy Kramer, who initially told his story under the pseudonym Captain Keyes, says he was only 4 years old when he began training for the SSP, the Secret Space Program, through a program called Project Moonshadow. He was one of approximately 300 girls and boys who were covertly drafted, quote, to participate in the program. Girls comprised only 20% of the group, a male-female ratio that remained consistent during his entire 20 years with the SSP. Kramer recalls that during his childhood, he would be taken from his bed at night, and even though he'd be gone for days or even weeks, he would be returned to his bed and travel back in time to when he was taken.
Right.
This is the it's
So you go to bed, you'd spend days and weeks doing whatever.
training on the moon.
Yeah, and then he'd come back to his bed as if he hadn't left his body.
So almost like a really vivid dream that lasts ages.
That's exactly how he describes it. A vivid dream that seems to last, and then he's got people saying, "Why you look so tired all the time, man?" It's like, because I've been with Mars for 3 weeks. Now, when he turned 17 in 1987, Kramer was involuntarily recruited to be part of the Mars Defense Force, MDF, whose purpose was to protect 5 civilian settlements already in existence on Mars. Now, he says he was literally test tube grown and in vitroed into his mom, and that's why he could be taken back through time. He was genetically altered. Right?
Okay.
So he says his capabilities are, he's like Captain America. He's a bit smarter, a bit stronger, a bit faster, heals a bit quicker. But he also says that his power his powers, his strength, or his capabilities is a better word, increases with the amount of threat he faces. So he fights like one dude, he's going to have the power sufficient to beat one dude. If he fights 10 dudes, he's going to have the power and speed and strength to fight these 10 off.
Has anyone tested him on this?
No one's put him in the UFC yet. Which I think is that's a perfect way to prove it, isn't it? Stick this guy in the UFC for a year or 2 years, and he steamrolls through everybody because he's stronger, smarter, faster, heals quicker. And he should be able to have like 5 fights a year, shouldn't he? A fight, in fact, if technically a fight every month.
And he could probably fight with 3 or 4 of them at once.
Maybe. Put them all in the ring with him. Have a big ring,
Put the top
all
10
the UFC fighters in, and say, okay, Randy, off you fuck. Go and do it.
Come on, you're against 10 men now. Your body's going to go... Puppy power!
Exactly.
And you're all like Popeye on your ass. And your
Bruce
muscles
Lee
are
on
going to all
fucking
just
steroids.
grow. And yeah, I'd like to see that.
Yeah. So, alright.
Put your money where your mouth is, Randy, and we'll believe you then.
That's what I say. There were 3 primary purposes for sending secret military-like troops to Mars. 1, to establish an extraterrestrial defence for Earth. Someone wants to get in the solar system, they got to get past Mars first. Unless it's behind us. Then we've got the moon, I guess. Mm-hmm. To claim Mars as a US territory, of course. There's oil on Mars, I assume.
Oil?
Oil,
Did you say there's oil on Mars?
probably. The US likes places with oil.
All the dead Martians.
Maybe the Martians are made up of oil. And to get Martians accustomed to having Earthlings present on their planet, so a bit of good old-fashioned colonisation. God, it's never left us. I hope they're wearing like red spacesuits.
Is the boss of this actually British?
No, it'll be American.
Oh, man.
In addition, the Mars Defence Force aimed to research the viability of establishing a human civilization in space should a cataclysm occur on Earth. Kramer was sent to the main settlement of Ares Prime, which was also the first Earth settlement on Mars. The settlement was comprised of the same types of people and organised in the same way as the original colonies were settled in America. USA! USA! USA!
Why has nobody made this into a film yet?
Because it's a secret, Mike. Because Randy
If
Kramer...
it's out there now.
Is only
he's
Randy
telling-
Kramer talking about it?
secret now, is it? He's telling everybody?
Only because it's only Randy Kramer. Plausible deniability. Send him in there as a nutcase.
Yeah, but surely some Hollywood executives or script writers have heard of this and we can get on it.
I wonder how if there's so many of these, right? Presumably, they said there was 300 of them. Now that's not forever. There's going to be 300 in probably every intake, every couple of years, maybe every year potentially.
Maybe,
So
you're right, yeah. You've got to
there
keep
could
that
well
supply.
be a good few thousand of these, but also there's going to be lots of retirees. How come nobody else has ever said this?
Maybe they've allowed him to say it. It's interesting actually that Reagan, in the Reagan diaries, Ronald Reagan, the president, who did go a bit senile in his later years, admittedly, said that in the diaries said that he'd met with NASA executives, the heads of NASA, and they told him that the space shuttle fleet could take 300 people. At the time, America had enough shuttles, about 5, to put like 60 people into space. I know Reagan went a bit senile in his later years, but he wrote a diary every day.
Mm.
And you wrote that in his diary?
Yeah, they were all published.
Oh.
Yeah.
So there are 2 main indigenous intelligent species on Mars, reptilian and insectoid. So I'm guessing like the little Geonosians from Star Wars, you know? Battle Geonosia, the little bug dudes.
Yeah.
Yeah? Pete?
Or Starship Troopers.
That's what I'm thinking.
You think it's Starship Troopers?
I picture Starship
No,
Trooper.
it is like the little bug dudes apparently. They're like proper sort of spindly insectoids. Sadly, well, for the good of us, not Starship Troopers. Because if they got to Earth, fucking hell. We don't want that. At Kramer's initial briefing, he was told that these were native savages and beasts. However, he soon learned they were evolved species, each with their own culture, civilization and intelligence, and their homes were mostly underground. Kramer frequently referred to them in interviews as living in hives or nests. Eey. I'm thinking of aliens now.
Yeah.
Well, they are aliens.
The film Aliens,
Xenomorphs.
when they go into the nest.
No, they're just different type of aliens, aren't they?
Well, yeah, but they're going to put a facehugger on me and have something burst in my chest.
They're quite insectoidy, kind of, aren't they?
I guess they are, yeah, the xenomorph.
In a way. The hard carapace and...
Hmm?
I suppose exoskeletons as opposed to, yeah.
God, I hope they got acid for blood, that'd be a bitch, wouldn't it?
Be alright if they had ice cream for blood.
Well, that'd be nice. Why has no species got ice cream for blood? Oh, imagine the
Or
film.
even custard.
Yes, scalding custard though, those element of danger.
Hot custard. If it's alright now. Oh, that's okay.
the goggles, they did nothing.
I'm thinking like Drake gets killed in Aliens with an acid splash. He's like, just like custard on his face.
Forget him.
Get me the jam roly-poly, Rick!
Forget him, he's gone, there's no more jam roly-polies. Leave him. Now at first, the indigenous people treated the humans from Earth as neighbours.
Well, that's your first mistake.
You're absolutely right. There's your first mistake. Don't trust us.
No.
We'll take your land. We've done it to ourselves. We don't care. Finders keepers.
Well, we did it to the dinosaurs.
Potentially. If you believe in a young Earth creation theory, I guess so. As long as their nests and hives were not disturbed, there was no problem. They seemed more interested in maintaining their territory rather than fighting. Even so, there were frequent skirmishes. The humans and Martian natives became weary of fighting and actually signed a treaty agreeing to peace. The treaty had two parts to it. First, the humans would not invade the sacred places of the indigenous people.
I'm
And they
guessing,
believed them.
Seems fair enough.
I'm guessing we violated that one.
Yeah. The second part of the treaty required the humans to work together with the reptoids and insectoids to fight an invading species of reptoids known as the draconians.
Which we've heard about before.
Yeah. The draconians were vicious and evil, but the joint venture was successful and the draconians withdrew. So we teamed up with them. Yeah, we've won! Yeah!
Now they're weakened. Fucking us, get them.
And it was like, you promised to come in our sacred places? Yeah! You know, handshake, two fingers behind the back, crossed over. Now, Kramer gets emotional when he talks about the last battle he participated in before leaving Mars. For some reason he was never able to understand, he was ordered as part of a 1,000-man force to go into one of the sacred tunnels of the reptoids to capture an artifact. This was in direct violation of the treaty. Kramer expressed his concern to his commanding officer, who agreed with him, but said he had ordered some, quote, headquarters, and the mission had to be accomplished. To quote the officer, "We all got our orders, so go do it." The men went through underground tunnels and came to a large dome, about the size of the Superdome or Astrodome. They lost all communication with headquarters when suddenly doors all around the edge of the arena opened and out charged the reptoids swinging large bladed weapons. Kramer said it was like, quote, being in a blender. So when the Jedi go into the arena on Geonosis in the Clone Wars and all them doors open,
But out come reptoids with fucking large bladed weapons.
yeah, and you're part of 1,000 Captain Americas in space, and according to
Do
Kramer,
they not have guns then?
presumably not.
Dickheads.
Kramer was only one of 35 men who survived out of 1,000.
See, here's where the flaw is within all of this story now. This is an American-run organisation, and they've clearly not got guns. Bullshit!
No, the reptoids haven't got guns. Randy Kramer and his mates have got guns.
Yeah, the reptoids now got swords. Big fucking blades.
They're more.
Big blades versus guns. What's gonna fucking win? How come there's only 35 of them left?
Well, go and ask the British colonists on Duana what happens when guys with swords get in amongst you with your rifles. They got massacred.
Yeah, but
It happens. They get in. They get in with it. They get in with your firing range. Don't take one to break the line.
But they weren't fully automatic rifles that they had, were they?
We don't know how they work on Mars.
No, for the instance you run about.
No, that's true, but
So a bit slightly different circumstances, and there wasn't 1,000 strong
it's always
of armed, presumably armed super soldiers.
well 1,000 Captain Americas in space versus a shit ton of reptoids.
I just see that as flawed because
No,
they would.
maybe-
You
maybe.
expect them to have some pretty sophisticated weaponry, and to be taken out by fucking sword reptile dude does seem a little bit wet.
He said it's like being a blender.
They all rushed out at him.
It's like
You
cutting
can't
them
hit
down.
everybody.
I see. Yeah, it's difficult without being able to visualise it. It's difficult
Yeah.
on the circumstances.
Well, that's why we should make a film, or somebody should.
Yeah.
Not us, obviously, it'd be shit if we made it.
You know, funny enough, I'm only watching Always Sunny in Philadelphia episode where they try and remake the Lethal Weapon film. Oh, I think it's Lethal Weapon 5 or 6
Yeah.
at that point, and they got Pepper Jack as the black detective. It's fantastic. While Kramer was accompanied with wounds, his superior officer met with him and offered him a pilot position. He spent his last 3 years in the Secret Space Force as a pilot on the moon.
What's he doing on the moon?
Because we've got a base of the moon too. We've got a base of the moon, base on Mars.
Yeah, but what's he doing? Why did he
He's
want
just
to pick
shuttling shit about. He's effectively being a space forklift driver. Take that over there, take that to that base, take that to that base. Take him there, take them there.
He's wounded, he can't fight at the moment, so they got him doing other stuff, haven't they?
Yeah.
So, is there a particular side of the moon that we never see?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the moon never spins enough
No.
for us to be able to see
It's fixed.
the dark side of the moon. So for all we know, there could be somewhere on the dark side of the moon, and we'd never see it with telescopes or nothing.
No.
That's it. Or it's got some kind of Wakanda type force field. We don't see it.
There have been astronauts that have seen the dark side of the moon.
Yeah, would we have the bases up there at that point? Or would the images be edited? Because we know NASA edited his photos. And who's taking the pictures? NASA. Or other space agencies who have all got a dog in this fight, haven't they?
Yeah.
Do you think?
Because it's like they think it's US led, but I guarantee you there's other nationalities up there with them.
I'm picturing the Transformers movie, Dark Side of the Moon,
Yeah,
like the way that kind of planned out.
I haven't seen it.
I've
But not with
I remember
giant
the.
robot car things.
Yeah. So obviously Randy Kramer's done 20 years. He goes at 17, he does 20 years, he's 37, right? He comes out. When his 20 years of service are up, he spent several weeks on the moon for a reverse aging process so that he could return to Earth, and basically his soul gets his soul, his repressed memories, get transferred back into his 17-year-old body in 1987. So they literally replace him with some kind of, I'm guessing, kind of clone thing, and then he goes away for 20 years, comes back, and is reinserted into his old body. So there's two timelines there, at least, isn't there?
Oh.
Now it's getting a bit... If it wasn't fanciful before, it is now, isn't it?
Because like he's been put back into his 17-year-old body by another timeline. He's been in space for 20 years, fighting insectoids and reptilians hand to hand. And then he drops back into the original timeline and goes back when they insert his memories and soul or whatever you call
His
it.
memory's been wiped, but they came back.
Yeah, they've been repressed. Is a better word. Suppressed. It's extraordinary, and it's even more astonishing that similar stories have been told by the 6 other men, although I must say I haven't come across them on any popular media.
6 other men?
Yes, but I have not read their testimonies because they're not as vocal as Randy is.
Well, he's the first to come out and talk about it, isn't he?
Yeah.
Could be copycats.
The stories are all similar, but they did not serve together and did not know about each other until they began revealing their experiences. But that could be the memory suppression.
See, this is all triggering.
And if they were clever, they go, "Oh yeah, Captain Keyes, I know him. I served under him." And then Randy Kramer would go, "Yeah, I remember him."
Well,
yeah, and they'd all play in together, and they could all make a lot of money.
That's exactly what I was about to say. This story's been triggering things in my brain. I seem to remember from the age of about... What was put into my memory was going to Saudi Arabia at 8 years old. It wasn't actually Saudi Arabia I went to.
It was the moon.
It was the fucking moon, and then I went to Mars. I was there for 24 years, I did.
You did 24?
Yeah.
You stayed on for longer?
Yeah, and then I got put back in 1989. I was 7 years old, just before I moved to Saudi.
Wow.
So,
Pizza.
and then I actually went to Saudi.
Are you Captain America in space?
No, I'm Captain England.
You're Captain Britain.
England. I ain't being
You're not sure.
tarred with the Celts, the Celt brush.
Ooh,
I'm joking.
you Anglo-Saxon, you.
Yeah. So if he wants to get in touch, I remember him, Captain Keyes. Yeah.
You're not trying to cash in on his glory train.
No, not at all.
No.
Not at all.
No.
But yeah, it's all. I tell you what, I went there and I fought these reptilian dudes.
Did you garrot one?
There was one.
I seem to recall. You know, it's all coming back to me. We were all there.
Hold on, you were the bald guy. Yes.
That could be anybody.
I remember you.
Do you remember me garrotting that insectoid?
I do, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that one come up to me with his big swordy things, and I said, "Oi, you, no!" And I gave him a slap.
I remember Claire drop kicking one.
Yeah.
Do you remember when I got gang raped, and I got space herpes?
Yeah, but that was by us.
You bastards.
See, it's easily done, guys. Everyone has an imagination. It can all be bullshit. Don't believe it, guys. Don't believe it! Unless there's hard evidence. It is an interesting one, yes, but...
Genuinely though, that guy tells his stories so consistently and with such conviction. I've listened to about 4 or 5 interviews with him, and he is just verbatimed it. You know, he's like...
Doesn't mean that he's not.
I know he's not. Doesn't mean
lying.
but my God, he's a fantastic actor.
How old is the geezer now, then?
He's at 40 odd now. 44 now.
Hold on, in 1987.
Yeah, but he's obviously aged. His memories. It took a few years for his memories to come back to remember. He's about 44 now. He started telling this when he was about 40ish.
If you were part of the space sort of secret space program, you'd flash them like the Men in Black, wouldn't you, and get rid of those memories?
They broke through.
Yeah.
Or they allowed him to recover his memories.
That's not the most mental part of this. The fact is he got put back into his original 17-year-old body and lived a fucking life after he'd already lived 20 years fighting on Mars.
Well, it's like the ideal circumstance, isn't it? It's like Lion, Witch and the Wardrobe, innit? Narnia. You can go into Narnia, have a full fucking life, have some kids and that, and then you're 90 and you think, oh, I'm just going to pop back through the closet. And you go back through, and guess what? You're a fucking 12-year-old again. You get to live your whole life again with the memory of your fucking 75 years that you've just had.
But if you go back through the wardrobe, you turn 90 again.
No.
You can live another life.
No, you live another life because in the sequels they go back.
But it's only your brain that is your body to use your brain still. There's no point being like in a 12-year-old body but having like a 180-year-old brain that's seen.
No, but they had all the knowledge of the life that they had. So imagine that being like a 12-year-old but having 80, 90 years worth of knowledge in your head.
Well, this is what he's dealing with effectively.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So why isn't this guy running the world? He should be a fucking genius. 20 years of Secret Service fucking training, 17 years old.
He's not even trying to kill people. He's killing insectoids and
I think
reptoids.
there's a little bit more to that with the super special secret super force.
He's grown a test tube. He's genetically altered.
Exactly. He's bound to be genetically altered in the brains as well as the physique.
Oh yeah, but
Brains and brawn, you know.
I guess so. He's going to be tactically sound, doesn't he?
So when he comes back with 20 extra years worth of life knowledge, can you imagine you being 17 now, knowing what you know now, being 17?
Yeah,
How
but-
different would you do shit?
Well, I'd presumably, I'd also have a horrible PTSD from when I was grotting that insectoid.
No, I mean even
I see my mates getting cut apart by reptilians
I'm
and swords.
talking about now, you right now.
Yeah, it'd be fantastic.
And then
If you put me back in a 17-year-old body,
And then come back to you now.
I'd be the king.
come back to you now, you'd have a fucking.
You'd be the king.
You'd have a brand new BMW, big hat. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You'd be well
I'd be the
successful.
fucking king.
Like, yeah.
What, you gonna bump off old Phil and marry the Queen again?
My whole family is in a place.
The deputy mayor, everybody.
Thank you. I'd like to say that my opinions expressed in this podcast do not reflect my actual opinions in real life.
They are all in jest.
Exactly.
Most of them, anyway.
All of them.
So what do we think about life on Mars then?
You know what? I'm down for the face. I really am. I think the weird that NASA really avoided going back there. Why? Just go and disprove it.
Yeah.
Just take like 100 photos of it and disprove it. But they wouldn't.
I think it's certainly possible there was life on Mars, whether it was advanced or not.
Oh, you never talked about the nuclear stuff.
What about it?
The probes that have landed on Mars, Viking and Curiosity, took samples. And they found an element that literally only exists after you've had a nuclear explosion.
Right. It's like fallout, basically,
Yeah.
essentially.
Basically, this element doesn't exist on Earth unless it's been a nuclear test site. And we've had 1,500 nuclear tests on Earth, about, roughly. And this element's only present at the sites of these explosions. This element is really everywhere on Mars. Is it the possibility?
We fucked Mars.
No, let's assume that we don't come from Mars for a second, or maybe we did and we're the survivors. Did they get to a point and nuke themselves? Was there a global nuclear war? Did the survivors flee to Earth and become us? Battlestar Galactica style?
If you haven't watched it, watch it. The new series of Battlestar Galactica is fantastic. It's a really good watch. Get into it. It's worth watching.
Find myself just crushing on Starbuck more and more as I watch it.
Not even Starbuck. Fucking Six.
Well, yeah.
She's the hottest evil character ever.
Yeah.
Oh,
What evil? I go number 6 if I'm good at Starbuck.
yeah, good.
Chaotic
Good.
Chaotic good.
Very chaotic. Yeah, fantastic series if you've not caught it.
Yeah, I genuinely, I think, you know what? I think NASA are telling the truth.
Can I just say one more thing about Battlestar Galactica? They were missing one thing in Battlestar Galactica. Remember the little robot in the original series?
Oh, fuck yeah. Both for the best, though, eh?
With what's his name? What was his
From
name?
Face.
Yeah,
Face.
yeah.
Face Man.
From the 80s. But yeah, there was that little robot always.
Yeah, but
They didn't even have anything slightly like
No.
that. Slightly.
probably for the best, in all fairness.
I was slightly disappointed at that.
Yeah, probably for the best. So, yeah, I'm with it. I think NASA cover it up. I think, why filter everything? Why Photoshop everything? Why not fly over again and make doubly sure you're supposed to be the guys who are looking for this stuff, aren't you?
That one picture with the tentacly, crabby, octopusy looking thing coming out of the hole of the side of that cliff. That, if it's genuine, that in itself, to me, is 100% proof.
Yeah.
If it's genuine, then yeah, there you go.
For the face, I mean, come on. The Sidonia face.
That could be pareidolia.
Pareidolia
It
with
could
them.
be one of the pyramids.
Pareidolia
Could
with
be.
them, but with that picture with that tentacly thing, that's not pareidolia.
Claire, where you stand on
It's
this?
all shadows, those faces for me.
Yeah?
But what about that tentacly thing?
Yeah, that's the most convincing.
Where are the
It's real.
pyramids?
Nah, it could be just like the shadows. And the way that, you know, at a different time of day, it wouldn't look like it would just look like a little mountain range because of the way that the shadows are falling.
Alright. What about the Secret Space Force? that leads on to new areas. Have we recovered a crashed alien craft? Were we exchanged it? Did the Eisenhower Treaty, was that real? I know we all think the Eisenhower Treaty was real. Or I do.
I'd like to think it's real.
So,
But
did
I
we
don't
get
think
exchange
I do.
tech?
I'm not buying that.
I don't think it is real.
Do you think
but
there's a possibility that Einstein's calculations are wrong slightly?
there's a possibility.
And that we figured out when you know what, we can go faster than light.
E doesn't mean equal MC squared. It actually means MC
Cubed.
quadrupled.
Who knows?
That's it, who knows?
The guy from the Boeing Skunk Works is pretty adamant about it.
I'm on the fence.
No!
Seriously.
But I do think there was possible life on Mars. Maybe even a civilization.
Ooh, that's a big step towards a civilization.
That's not quite on the fence, is it?
That's not
No, I said it's possible.
You've got one buttock on the fence on that, surely.
Yeah, I'm more, obviously, the microbial.
Yeah.
I'm more leaning towards that.
Yeah.
Less so the advanced civilizations, but there's some weird things, you know what I mean?
Yeah, what about up to like Egyptian level?
That's what I mean, yeah.
Some of those statues, like that particular statue that had a very prominent face, that you could see that half of.
And when all them cultures who were those, like the Sumerians, like they're the ones who say we were visited by star people and this is what they look like by carving their faces into stone. And then you're finding that on Mars. Isn't that a bit sort of like, can't be more coincidence at that point?
They also helped the people on Mars, potentially. Could it be that as well? It was a civilization that had aided Mars, gone back to Mars and gone, oh, they've all gone. Oh, they fucked themselves. Hold on, this one's got some life now. Let's go over here. And then they'd also then they come to us.
They took some of the Martians to Earth because Mars was getting too fucked to live on. Who can say?
Could be either or of them.
Maybe one day we'll find out.
If NASA will ever tell us.
Get a job at NASA.
I might use my deputy mayor status to try.
Do it.
Get the answers.
That's so fucking so serious. Get the answers. Well, on that note, let's end the show. I've been Ben. Don't do the favourite. Don't join the cult. And we probably came from Mars.
I've been Mike, thanks for listening. Peace out, may the force be with you.
I've been Claire. Keep an open mind, but not so open that it spills out your ears.
And I've been Pete. Why, it's the little man!
I don't know where that Geordie bloke came in from then.